We're all aware that Sim Update 8 was mainly a bug fix, but is there anything new? We'll take a look, and in addition I'll bring you the highlights from the recent Q&A session held by Microsoft and Asobo. We'll also take a look at the questions that they answered and those they didn't. Welcome to the SimHanger, my name's Mark, thanks for watching and let's get started. We'll start by having a look at what's new in Sim Update 8. But first on screen is a recent flight I did in Colombia. The weather wasn't very kind and a storm had just passed. The aircraft I'm flying was released at the same time as Sim Update 8. It's the Beechcraft D-17 Staggerwing from Carenado. Personally, for its price, I think it represents value for money. Great attention to detail, relatively easy to fly, a fantastic sound set, and it's ready for your next low-level VFR or bush trip. Recommended. But I digress. Asobo have done some more work under the hood, it would appear. The FPS isn't any faster, but flights are a little smoother, and I think there's been optimization on the GPU. There's a new interface for the marketplace which makes it a little easier to find what you're looking for. The biggest change is under airports. You're now taken to the world map and you can click on any airport. It'll bring up the information and indicate if there's an add-on available. Marketplace only, mind. Click on the picture and you're given an option to purchase. Now it's even easier to spend money. The Reno Races packages also had an update and an important one. Now in addition to a quick match, you can now choose Create Private Match. Select the category and the aircraft that you want. Now you can invite your friends and have a private head-to-head with up to 8 aircraft. A great addition, and I think it'll breathe new life into this package. The Sim also now supports and has a default configuration for the Tobii eye tracker. And a quick mention that the sensitivity settings for the Thrustmaster HOTAS 1 are now saved on the Xbox. 3 aircraft now have the improved computational fluid dynamics, in effect a more realistic flight model. They're the Cessna 152, the Cessna 208B Caravan, and the King Air 350i. At the next Sim update, only one further aircraft, the Cessna 172, will be added, with more to follow thereafter. From the world map there are additional options for saving or loading a flight plan, be that a .pln or .flt. So you can now save to the Xbox Cloud Storage as an alternative to saving it on your PC or Xbox. This means you can share your flight plan on any of the devices that you use Microsoft Flight Simulator on, providing it's the same account. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow Xbox users to load external flight plans, and this is sorely needed. Under your General Options menu and Sound, you can now specify the sound device for both your speakers and your mic. This is a handy addition and particularly useful for those who fly in VR. For Xbox users, you can also opt to choose mono or stereo. One issue that wasn't addressed, and somewhat surprising as it's an easy fix, if you're keen on the Velocopter, well, you're still sat in the back seat. Okay, so let's move on and pick up some of the highlights from the Q&A session held recently. The first subject covered by Jorg was obviously Microsoft Flight Simulator being available on the Xbox Cloud gaming platform, which now allows you to play Microsoft Flight Simulator on multiple devices, including tablets and smartphones. I'm not going to cover it in any detail here. I did a video on this subject, link in the notes below, if you'd like to know more. One important point worth noting, however, is you currently need an Xbox controller. They are working on different input methods, including keyboard, mouse, gyro and touch, but don't expect this to be out until about June or July. Microsoft was challenged on this in terms of the number of resources being spread far and wide. Jorg responded by saying that the Microsoft Flight Simulator team, which is now about 220 people, were not involved in the move to the platform. All the development work was done internally by Microsoft. In multiplayer and in the Reno Races, there's an issue of plane ghosting. This is where you get too close to a plane and it disappears, and we want an option to turn that off. It's on the cards and can be expected for Sim Update 10. It'll come up as a toggle option on or off. There was considerable discussion and questions relating to the weather system. I'll leave a link to the full Q&A session in the notes below if you'd like to know more, but there was a somewhat lengthy discussion on the variety of clouds, and this was particularly relevant in live weather. Asobo confirmed that development was ongoing, and this would be enhanced by additional data that will be injected into the sim in addition to the meta information. And this would include the return of wind gusts to live weather and more realistic turbulence up and down drafts. Great news for glider pilots. When this would be available wasn't exactly clear, but again I think we can pencil in Sim Update 10. Since Sim Update 5 there's been increased shimmering in VR. Asobo acknowledged this and said it was affected by the terrain level of detail or the draw distance, and that they expected the introduction of DLSS, which will also apply to VR later this year, to resolve much of that problem. Marshall from Asobo also confirmed that work continued and would continue on improving the AI traffic, and in particular the real-time traffic. But again, no definitive date. This is an ongoing project. There was some discussion regarding the degradation of performance over a period of time. The longer you play, the lower the FPS. Asobo mentioned that this was not widespread. They had done some investigations, but they don't know at this stage what's causing it. Further analytics will be set up to help them identify cause. Someone mentioned the issue regarding the long load times. Now I don't know who raised it, but thank you for doing so. And the fact that you press the icon and can go and make a cup of coffee whilst you wait for it to kick off. It was acknowledged that the more that you have in your community folder, the longer the load time's gonna take. So individual users were partially responsible, but nonetheless Asobo acknowledged there is an issue and we're going to look at it. The challenge being is it in effect is an architectural change to the code, some changes perhaps for Sim Update 9. There was confusion over the slider for the vegetation, and in effect they're saying it is the terrain level of detail slider that's already in the sim, as that defines draw distance. Other topics included the potential addition of AMD's FSR at some point in the future, problems with the mouse in camera free look mode. There was no answer in terms of a time frame for shared cockpit. Helicopter development remains on schedule. The recently introduced Fokker will be getting an upgrade and work is ongoing. And good news from my perspective, the Junkers Ju-52 will be getting opening doors. There was also a request for the incorporation of closed groups that would provide social interaction for things such as flight clubs and so on. Check out the full Q&A session if you'd like more detail. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope this was useful and informative. Stay well, take care, see you again soon. Bye for now.